brand new iPhone 12 Pro Max. The fan said the phone suddenly became very hot when it was in the pocket. After a while, it wouldn't turn on. I called the fan and learned that the phone was bought from a second-hand store as a SIM card modification phone. The fan now strongly suspects that the phone has some hidden issues. They believe the seller must have sold them a repaired second-hand phone. All right, let's open up this phone and see if there is anything fishy. As the fan mentioned, after opening the screen, we checked the inside and it was very clean. There were no signs of any repairs. Let's continue by removing the screen and then test it with a power meter. I pressed the power button and the current jumped to 800 milliamperes, but quickly dropped and fluctuated. The phone indeed won't turn on. Let's continue by removing the motherboard and taking a closer look. Some people quietly watch videos, but they will secretly like, comment, share, repost, and follow. People like this are so cute. Observing the motherboard, it looks very new, and there are no signs of being disassembled or repaired. It seems there are no issues like the fan said. We tested the single board with the power meter, and the current still jumped to 800 milliamperes, fluctuating. This current indicates a short circuit inside the motherboard. We need to separate the double layer motherboard to continue the repair. We removed the waterproof foam and protective stickers from the motherboard using a hot air gun at 350 degrees Celsius and 100 airflow speed. We evenly heated the motherboard before separating the layers. The upper layer of the motherboard is responsible for the entire logic startup. We tested the upper layer motherboard separately with the power meter, but the current still jumped to 800 milliamperes, and the phone still didn't turn on. We carefully examined the entire motherboard under a microscope, but no abnormalities were found based on past repair experience. Such current fluctuations are often caused by short circuits in the hard drive and CPU power supply. We cleared the black resin around the hard drive and tested the capacitors around it with a multimeter. No abnormalities were found. Next, we tested the capacitors around the CPU. Still no abnormalities were found. This was very strange. We placed the motherboard under a thermal imaging camera to observe as the current jumps. The motherboard should heat up when it turns on. We found that when the current jumped, only the CPU was heating up. Could the CPU itself be damaged? But the possibility of a CPU burning out during normal use is very low. Before touching the CPU, we tested every capacitor on the motherboard again. When we tested the capacitor next to the USB management IC, we finally found the problem. This small capacitor had both ends grounded. We opened the schematic and checked, and the red areas are all connected. This circuit connects the power supply to the ringtone IC, then through a resistor to the CPU. When the CPU starts up, the short-circuited resistor lowers the CPU's operating conditions, causing the CPU to overheat and preventing it from turning on. We continued to heat the shorted circuit with flux, then used the power meter to supply power to the shorted circuit. We could see a small capacitor quickly melt. We removed it and then tested the power meter again. After pressing the power button, the current showed that the phone could now turn on. We connected the screen and tested it again. The screen lit up and we successfully entered the system. It was just a small capacitor that was damaged, almost causing the CPU to fail. We continued to clean the lower layer of the motherboard, then resoldered the joints. We put the two layers of the motherboard back together. After cleaning, we assembled the phone and tested it. After turning it on and entering the system, we tested all functions and everything worked perfectly. Then we removed the motherboard, attached the waterproof foam and shielding stickers back to the motherboard, and reassembled the phone. After installing all the parts, all right, bro, your phone is fixed.